So the 5Y3 is good. Hello again, everyone. I'm going to be starting on a new antique radio restoration today. This is a Crosley. It's a model 517 Crosley fiber. I've had this radio a few months now and finally got around to looking into it, and we're going to do a restore on it. She's pretty rough, as you can see, looking at the cabinet. There's some scratches and dings and scrapes and veneer that's loose. Lots to repair on this. Luckily, I think the veneer is all still there. Maybe a piece missing at the edge, but for the most part, this veneer is all intact. Just needs to be glued back down and then refinished. But that comes later. First, we got to try to repair the radio and get it working. So let's take a look at the back. Let me spin it around and we'll see what's going on back there. Well, we definitely don't want to be plugging this up with this cord. She's gone. So you got an electrolytic that's spewed out the top. That one hasn't, but those are two main electrolytics. 5-tube radio, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The original label is still inside the cabinet. It says Crosley fiber, and chassis number is 517. 3 screws in the bottom that holds the chassis in. And someone had a antenna wire. Pretty long wire there, it looks like. I'm pretty confident those are the original knobs. They look like Crosley knobs. And the dial turns, so that's a plus. Glass is still intact, just needs some cleaning. Grill cloth not too bad, just you can see the outline of the speaker, just dirty. We'll be replacing that anyway when we get to the cabinet work. So let me pull the knobs off and we'll get the chassis pulled out and look at it. There's the 3 knobs, and we still got felt on these 2. It does have a plug-in speaker, so got to take off got a 1/4-inch screw with a bracket. Once we get that out of the way, that should unplug. I think we've had some work done because there's a replacement for an electrolytic there, looks like. And that's probably for the other one right there. It goes to the post on the bottom of that cap. So we've had 2 electrolytics replaced or bridged. Looks like the old cap's still hooked up. Let me get this antenna wire out of the way, and I'm going to cut this cord off because we're not going to use it anyway. Okay, here's a layout of the underneath. or the bottom of the chassis, what it's supposed to look like. And we can see all of those coils right over there. And they're showing a cap right there. And that's this one. And then another cap right there, and that's probably an original there, it looks like it. And then, as I mentioned, these two have been tacked in on top of this one and this one. These are the originals. First thing I'll do is remove this glass, put it in a safe place till we get the radio working. It's like we just bend these tabs back. This radio's unique in this design. See this reflective disc? You can see me right there. That really makes that display stand out, especially with the light turned on, lamp turned on. Rather than trying to take that reflective disc off, I'm going to leave it alone, and I'll cut a piece of cardboard, put over the face of it to protect it while I'm working on the radio. Because the dial cord's still good, and you see the dial goes from end to end, so we don't want to mess with that if we don't have to. So first I'll check the 5 tubes. We'll see if any of them are good, or all of them are good, or all of them are bad, or whatever. I have all the tubes pulled out, so let's see how they check. First tube's a 6A8, and we're right in calibrated, so right at the edge of the green. Some of these tubes on this tester, it'll have a note that says if they check greater than 3, they're okay, but this one does not have that, so it really should be in the green, and it's close. So we're going to call that one questionable on the 6A8. Next is a 5Y3, and this tube you test P1 and P2, and that's P1, which is a detemp position on the plate switch, and we're checking way up into good. P2, close to the same, so the 5Y3 is good. Next we have a 6U7, and I had to make a test card for this one. I see a filament. And meter moving a little. Let's calibrate. And we're right in the middle, so that one's still coming up a little as it warms up, but it'll probably work. May not work the best, but it should work. So the 6U7, questionable. Next we have a 6K6. And filaments. So the 6K6 is good. And the last tube that's in the radio, it's a 6R7, and it's supposed to be a 6Q7. And according to my substitution book, the 6R7 is not a sub for a 6Q7. But we're going to go ahead and test it. Someone had it in the radio, and maybe it worked. We'll try to dig up a 6Q7 just to be sure. Here's a 6R7. I had to make a card for it too. And we calibrate. And that tube's good. Well, that section, there's two cards for this tube. This is card 1, and then card 2, you test plate 1 and plate 2. So let's put card 2 in. I have a master punch card with this RCA Cardmatic that I use to make these cards for a tube that's not in the original sheets or in the original punch cards. And P1 says reject if under 2, and that's well up in the green. So, and then P2, P2's not checking very well. So that tube, not sure. I don't think it's the right tube for the radio, but if we can't find a 6Q7, we'll just put it back in and use it. According to my tube inventory sheet that I keep here in the basement, I have a 6Q7 out in the other shop. So let me go see if I can find it. And yes, I do have a 6Q7. So the important thing is it any good? So let's check it. Okay, there's two cards for this tube. And I have card 1 in, says test P1 and P2, reject if below 3. And we're calibrate. We're over 4. That's on P1. And we'll go P2. We're up 9 on P2. Now let's check card 2. This is a triode section of the tube. And it's good. All right, we've got 5 tubes that should work. A couple of them were questionable on quality, but they will work. And we'll leave them there for now. And this is a great time to just do a little bit of cleaning. I know I'm taking a lot for granted that I can repair this radio, but I think I can. And we need to get rid of this dust anyway. Makes easier working conditions. So let me do a little cleaning on this and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm finished. Okay, a little better. At least most of the dust is gone. And I've got my piece of cardboard on that front dial, so we won't damage it. And it will still tune okay. We're going to put the tubes back in. I'll clip in a new power cord underneath. And let's do a power up and just see what happens. All right, all the tubes back in. The only Crosley tube of the bunch was a 6A8. And it's got Crosley on the base and it says Raytheon up on the glass. So the rest of them, different brands. AC cord just clipped in, plugged into the Syncor power right. Radio's off. So let's set our voltage. I'm going to go about 90 volts. Then I'm going to go on current and let's see what happens. Well, we got a dial light and we're current bumped up and then came back down a little. We got noise. Let me clip an antenna wire on and let's see if that helps. That's one of the best initial power-ups I think I've ever accomplished. I was questioning that 6R7 in place of the 6Q7. I'm going to leave it on that station I was on, and let's sub those tubes and see what happens. 6R7 is in. And it does work. Okay, so a 6R7 will work in place of a 6Q7. I learned something today. Don't trust substitution books, I guess. So this is going to be a pretty simple restore. We'll replace the paper caps, what few there is. We'll fix these electrolytics. And we'll just clean everything up, clean the controls and the switches. And we've got just a little bit of rust right there on the chassis and right there. We'll see if we can get rid of that. New cord. That's going to be about it. Then we'll get into the cabinet. That's going to take some time, but I think we can make it look a lot better. And I'm going to leave the tubes in, so when I start replacing these caps underneath, and I can change a part, turn the radio back on, make sure it works, and then move on. But before we do any parts changing, I want to put on a new cord. And here's what I'll be using. Not exactly like the original cloth covered cords, but it's close. And the good thing about this new cord, it is polarized, so we can hook it up correctly where there's no shock hazard. So let me get this put on and then we'll go from there. And there's a new cord. Okay, all the paper caps have been replaced. And the two electrolytics that they've bridged in are actually working okay, but I will change them, of course. The 6R7, I think that's what was in place right here. I put in that 6Q7, which is what it's supposed to have right there. We're going to leave that new tube in, that one. Well, good stopping point. That'll do it for part one. In part two, we'll start changing all the caps and then begin to work on the cabinet. So, see you then. We hope you've enjoyed the video. And if you did, how about giving us a like and subscribe to our channel? Thanks.